Good afternoon and welcome to the Dallas Bar Association's Law Student Professionalism Day. I'm Tim Newman. I'm a partner at Haynes & Boone and I serve on the DBA Morris Herald Professionalism Committee. I want to thank the committee, specifically Jill Lewis, Sean Hassett, and Andy Jones for their efforts in organizing this program. And of course, thank you to the DBA staff, Catherine Zach and Yadinia Hinahos, for their assistance in hosting this program. Our format has naturally changed this year, but we host this program every year as an opportunity to pause and reflect on what makes the practice of law a profession, and to hopefully pass some words of wisdom along to you, our next generation of lawyers. So we put together a great program for today, and I think you'll enjoy it. And I'd like to ask Dallas Bar Association President Robert Tobey to get our program started.
I appreciate that, Tim. This is a great program, one that I look forward to every year. And even though we're virtual this year instead of live, I'm still very excited about it. We've got a great panel of speakers for you. Wanted to give you just a couple of thoughts before we launch into the program. And, you might be asking yourselves as 1 and 2 L's and perhaps 3 L's, why is professionalism important? And it really comes back to the old adage of, you only get one chance to make a good first impression. And that old adage is so right. You're going to hear from Judge Purdy, but when, a young lawyer goes in front of one of our judges and does something that is wrong or unethical or just flat out stupid, you're not just doing that in front of Judge Purdy. She's on an email list with all the other district judges and a lot of times the county court judges. And so not one judge, but 18 judges know about your little goof up. And that's hard to shed that once you get it. So, you want to build good habits at the outset, find a mentor. We're obviously in a tough time right now, and we don't know how long it'll last. I hope this is a fairly short-term down dip for the legal profession, but it may not be. So, if you're adversely impacted when you're headed out to the real world of law practice, find somebody to be your mentor to help you with these sorts of things so that you get the guidance that you need from the outset. We work in a very, very tough profession. We have a duty of confidentiality. We have the attorney-client privilege. We can't talk about a lot of the things we do with our spouses or significant others or kids or whoever it is we might be inclined to talk to. And that builds a lot of stress. And, if you're wondering about how you should act on top of just not knowing what to do, those stresses are really, really difficult. So find a mentor, do things the right way from the outset, and law practice will be a lot better than it would be otherwise. So with that, let me kick it back to Tim to get us going. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. And now I'd like to ask Andy Jones to step up to our virtual podium. Andy Jones is a trial lawyer at Sawicki Law. He focuses his practice entirely on plaintiff's personal injury cases. Andy has been named a D Magazine Best Lawyer Under 40 for the past 2 years. And in 2020, he was named one of only 8 Texas Super Lawyers Rising Stars for plaintiff's medical malpractice. Andy is board certified in civil practice advocacy by the National Board of Trial Advocacy. He is co-chair of the DBA Morris Herald Professionalism Committee and a dear friend. Andy, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Tim. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be with you today. As the co-chair of the Professionalism Committee, I have the distinct privilege and opportunity to just leave you with some words that might encourage you to become involved with the Dallas Bar Association Professionalism Committee. Whether or not you actually come to our meetings as a member of the Dallas Bar Association, or if you become a member of the Dallas Bar Association, you're a member of the Professionalism Committee. Everywhere you go, you are an ambassador for our profession. And so I wanted to leave you with some thoughts. In Shakespeare's play, Taming of the Shrew, he writes, "Do as adversaries in the law, strive mightily, but eat and drink as friends." I've always thought of this quote as summing up the level of competence and civility and respect to which we all should aspire in our profession. And as the centuries have gone on, our profession has seen many changes. And that is especially true now in the time of the global pandemic. Each of these changes required a recommitment to civility, respect, and professionalism. Whether it's more recent developments like the statewide Day of Civility or older developments like the Texas Lawyers' Creed. As the world and the practice of law changed, our profession's need to continue to strive mightily but eat and drink as friends remained and remains paramount. And that's why we need you. It is the purpose of the Dallas Bar Association's Professionalism Committee to foster civility and respect and professionalism across the bar. But this can only happen if you, the future of the legal community, commit yourselves to treating each other, your clients, and the courts with civility, respect, and professionalism. Only you can maintain the high level of excellence that our legal community continues to cultivate. We need you to join the DBA and be a part of our professionalism committee. But more importantly, we need you to go out into your law schools and eventually your careers as attorneys and teach others to respect each other and respect the rule of law. We need you to keep lines of communication open, relationships repaired, and the pursuit of truth at the front of your minds. Thank you all very much for being here. I look forward to seeing you at the Professionalism Committee and enjoy the program.
Thank you, Andy. Our next speaker is CJ Donald. CJ is from Memphis, Tennessee, and came to Dallas after attending Vanderbilt Law School. He's an associate at Haynes & Boone, LLP, and in his free time, he loves being involved with the local bar associations, firm recruiting efforts, and lawyer sports leagues. I've had the pleasure of working with CJ personally at Haynes & Boone, and I can't think of a better model of professionalism. CJ, you're up.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Tim. To all of our law students, thank you for joining this webinar. My friends and I have this long-standing debate over the best fast food restaurant in the South. The specifics are unimportant, but we have deep feelings about each brand name. Some of those feelings are good. Some of those feelings are awful. But without a doubt, when we discuss each brand, we immediately know where we stand. This is important for you because you are at the beginning of your legal career, and soon you too will have a brand name. When colleagues and clients in the courts discuss you, they will immediately know where they stand on your professionalism, your civility, and your work ethic. Unlike a semester schedule that is carefully plotted and planned for you by several school administrators, your legal career will be what you make it. Exhibiting professionalism is a major key to success. As you transition from law student to lawyer, there are three things that you must do. First, you must take ownership over your work. Taking ownership means that you vow to carry out your duties ethically and to the best of your abilities. As a new lawyer, you'll likely be given smaller pieces of big projects. You are not just responsible for your piece. You are responsible for making sure that your work helps the team successfully complete the entire project. This means that if you're given an assignment on Monday and the assigning attorney asks for completion by Friday, you shouldn't wait until Thursday night to ask questions about the scope of the assignment. Instead, you should review the instructions immediately, get to work as quickly as you can, and use all tools available to you to find answers to any questions you might have. You shouldn't wait until Friday morning to tell the assigning attorney or the client you'll need more time. If someone asks for a draft, please note they're not asking for a rough draft. Everything you submit to the client, to the courts, should be polished as much as possible. As a young attorney, your goal is not to get everything right. Your goal is to be thoughtful, tenacious, and timely. Now, you might think that you have not enough experience to make an impact. Nothing can be farther from the truth. You should enter the profession with unbridled enthusiasm to learn and to help. This enthusiasm will make you a creative and thorough lawyer. You know, we've all had those group projects in school with the person that just wants to get the passing grade. Well, I encourage you to be the player everyone wants on their team because they know you are reliable in crunch time. I want to be clear. When I say that you should take ownership over your work, I'm not asking you to do everything yourself. Taking ownership means that you wake up every day and ask, how can I make this project better? How can I best help my client? How can I be proactive rather than reactive? How can I lighten the load for my team? How can I get this done and get it done ethically and correctly? Take initiative with respect to your work and also with respect to social change. Don't just accept the things you cannot change. Change the things that you can no longer accept. Second, you must become a great communicator. We are living in a time with the best communication solutions ever created. There's Zoom, WebEx, FaceTime, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Reddit, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I could go on for hours, right? But despite the breadth of these communication solutions, very few of us have become skilled communicators. I'd argue that for a young lawyer, mastering communication with your coworkers, the court, clients, and opposing counsel is mandatory. All of us have seen those rogue emails or deposition transcripts. As Texas lawyers, as Dallas lawyers, let's avoid putting ourselves on those above the law blogs. So what must you do? You must master the art of email. Some teams are more formal than others, but you should always strive to respond quickly and fully. You must master the art of asking questions. Please ask questions, but be thoughtful about how you ask the questions. You must master the art of flagging problems for those superior to you. You will face issues that seem above your pay grade. Don't be afraid to ask more senior members of your team for help. Do this as early as possible. Lots of young lawyers try to prove they can do everything by themselves. And I'll be honest today, I used to think that was the expectation. I've learned that no one thinks I should solve everything myself. I'll say that again. No one expects me to solve everything myself. Instead, I'm expected to work diligently at every problem. And when I face a hurdle or I need more information from the client, I'm expected to ask for help. Not only must you take ownership, and not only must you become a great communicator, third, you must have gratitude. All of you worked hard to get here, and you should be proud. But every day, I remember that I am blessed to be here. Every day, I think about the people in my corner, like Tim, and everything that happened to go right for me. As a result, when I face issues, I don't think, I have to do this. Instead, I think, I get to do this. With pretty high confidence, I assume that you are all blessed to be here as well. Despite the madness of 2020, you are on your way to becoming a lawyer. And that is something for which you should be grateful. There will be long nights and busy days and weekends spent on the computer and vacations ruined, but you must have gratitude. Gratitude will make you resilient and motivate you during those tough days. Gratitude will keep your ego in check and help you be a good team player. Gratitude will help you make friends out of colleagues and partners out of opponents. Gratitude will teach you how to have grace for others when they make honest mistakes, ask questions that might annoy you, or initiate awkward encounters. Gratitude will remind you that you are blessed to be where you are, and not everyone has been given those same blessings. Gratitude will help you pivot and regroup in the face of hardship and challenges. Gratitude will push you to fight for justice in all arenas. Gratitude will help you weather a pandemic. The research shows that practicing gratitude daily is associated with stronger immune systems, more joy and pleasure than the average person, and increased levels of happiness, generosity, and compassion. When you work with a grateful heart, you are affirming that your work has merit and this profession is worth taking pride in. In closing, I'd like to remind you of a debate that my friends and I have over our favorite fast food joints. While some people nitpick about the amount of salt on fries or the best sauce for chicken nuggets, most of our debates boil down to the overall experience with each brand. When the service is bad or the food is cold, you remember it. Likewise, when the service is awesome and you get just what you asked for, it sticks with you. It's the effort and attention to detail that bonds you with a brand name. Remember, Each day is what you make it. If you take ownership, master communication, and live with gratitude, I guarantee that you will start your legal career from a position of strength. Jill, back to you.
Thanks so much, CJ. And those words were fantastic. Even I was inspired by them. And I really appreciate that. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to my longtime friend, Judge Monica McCoy Purdy, who will bring you the keynote address today. The Law Student Professionalism Committee wanted to choose someone who embodied the moment that we are in. An excellent leader, a clear-eyed and high-integrity lawyer, who is a very real person with a journey that will inspire and reassure law students that each of you can define a path in this profession and pursue it with gusto. Judge Purdy serves as an associate judge for the state civil district courts in Dallas County. She supports several state district courts and conducts a wide range of judicial tasks, including presiding over motion hearings, injunctions, temporary restraining orders, discovery disputes, bench and jury trials. Judge Purdy earned her law degree from the Thurgood Marshall School of Law at Texas Southern University in Houston, where she was a member of the Law Review. She then joined the national firm of Linebarger, Goggin, Blair, and Sampson, and became a partner in their civil litigation and bankruptcy groups. In 2004, to accommodate the needs of her growing family, she decided to open her own law practice, serving as regional counsel for Fortune 500 clients in litigation and collection disputes. In 2010, she became appointed to the position of associate judge for the city of Dallas. In this position, she was able to maintain her private practice while honing her skills as a judge. Based on this experience and backed with her passion for legal issues on both sides of the bench, she pursued and was appointed to her current full-time position in the state civil district courts. This position was awarded by merit, and it was unanimous for the 13-member panel, and she has been consistently rated among the top 3 civil judges in evaluations conducted by the Dallas Bar Association and the peers that appear before her in her court. I wanted to share a little something rather than the usual, let's just hear someone talk with their head. Before Judge Purdy was Judge Purdy, she was, of course, law student Monica McCoy, shown here with her family on graduation day. She's a native of Tampa, Florida, and she earned her undergraduate degree from Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia. She also, after graduation, decided that she would help to develop the Legal Studies Department curriculum for Paul Quinn in Dallas, Texas. She has also presided as the president of the J.L. Turner Legal Association. She's been the regional director for the National Bar Association and conducted countless community voter engagement seminars. Judge Purdy is shown here with her family. I thought it was important to share that as well. She and her husband are the proud parents of 2 children, Zoe Alon and Zane Ellis. Toby Purdy serves as the chief sales officer of the Expo Group located in Irving, Texas. But Judge Purdy does not leave it there. She has been very involved in her community. In addition to her many duties as a judge, as a wife, as a mother, she has also been a member of the American Bar Association National Conference of State Trial Judges, the Judicial Council of the National Bar Association, the National Association of Women Judges, the Dallas Bar Association, J.L. Turner Legal Association, Mark Taylor Inn of Court, the Dallas Bar Foundation Fellowship, which is the highest honor bestowed on a member of the State Bar of Texas, the League of Women Voters of Texas. She's on the Dallas Assembly. She's a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Jack and Jill of America, the Links Incorporated, and is a founding member of the Village Giving Circle of the Texas Women's Foundation, which funds organizations and initiatives that benefit African American women, men, and children in North Texas. The boards of Thurgood Marshall School Alumni Board, as well as Green Hill and the Winston School, which her children attend. She is currently a candidate for judge of the 95th Civil District Court in Dallas County. I share all this with you so that you can know that she has shared a journey, and she is here to bring remarks to all of you who are beginning your careers. And as with that, I am so excited to turn it over to Judge Purdy. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jill, for that very kind introduction. And thank you also to the Dallas Bar Association President, Robert Tobey, to ensuring quality programs such as this are offered, which continue to make our profession great. I'm happy to be here with you today. And I'd like to thank the members of the Professionalism Committee of the DBA that invited me to be your keynote speaker. I'm honored to share with you what I know and what I think may also be helpful as you embark upon your legal career. I thought long and hard, what is it that I can say? What is it that I can offer that many of you haven't already either heard before or read before about professionalism, civility, and being resilient? I concluded that I would just tell you what I've witnessed and what I have experienced during my legal career. But first, I thought it might be helpful to share with you a very recent story on professionalism. So I have a video that we are going to watch. So give me just a moment.
And in front of reporters, Representative Yoho called me, and I quote, "These are the words that Representative Yoho levied against..."
Hold on 1 second.
"A congresswoman, the congresswoman that not only represents New York's 14th congressional district, but every congresswoman and every woman in this country, because all of us have had to deal with this in some form, some way, some shape, at some point in our lives." And I want to be clear that Representative Yoho's comments were not deeply hurtful or piercing to me, because I have worked a working class job. I have waited tables in restaurants. I have ridden the subway. I have walked the streets in New York City. And this kind of language is not new. I have encountered words uttered by Mr. Yoho and men uttering the same words as Mr. Yoho while I was being harassed in restaurants. I have tossed men out of bars that have used language like Mr. Yoho's. And I have encountered this type of harassment riding the subway in New York City. This is not new. And that is the problem. Mr. Yoho was not alone. He was walking shoulder to shoulder with Representative Roger Williams. And that's when we start to see that this issue is not about one incident. It is cultural. It is a culture of lack of impunity, of accepting of violence and violent language against women, in an entire structure of power that supports that. Because not only have I been spoken to disrespectfully, particularly by members of the Republican Party and elected officials in the Republican Party, not just here, but the President of the United States last year told me to go home to another country, with the implication that I don't even belong in America. The governor of Florida, Governor DeSantis, before I even was sworn in, called me a whatever that is. Dehumanizing language is not new. And what we are seeing is that incidents like these are happening in a pattern. This is a pattern of an attitude towards women and dehumanization of others.
All right. Okay. So why did I select this particular clip for you to watch? I selected this clip because I believe it is indicative of the time in which we currently live. We are living in a climate where people are blatantly displaying conduct that, for lack of a better description, is devoid of human decency, professionalism, and civility. I believe in and wholly support a person's rights afforded to them by the First Amendment, but somewhere down the line, we have blurred what is truly meant by protected free speech and conduct that should not be tolerated. But quite the opposite, it should be called out for exactly what it is, and that is speech that is sexist and racist, which by no means should be tolerated. And if you are a bystander who chooses not to correct or act on this type of behavior when you hear it, then I would like to remind you that you are complicit and just as culpable by virtue of your silence. Now, how did Representative Ocasio-Cortez choose to handle this situation? She took a very uncomfortable exchange, and she used professionalism to correct and confront a very uncomfortable situation. She used her voice to shed light on what this incident meant to her personally and how it does not move the work of Congress forward or the many advancements and achievements that women and minorities have made thus far. We face this situation all too often, people using uncomfortable words. And what do you do when placed in this situation? Do you let it go? Do you say nothing? We all know that it is easier to hit below the belt than to confront a situation head on. In this example, Representative Ocasio-Cortez chose to take dead aim at the target, and in return, she put the target on his heels. She used her voice to get back to being comfortable and having a significant impact in the process. As the late, great Congressman John Lewis would say, your voice is your best asset. Being uncomfortable sometimes helps us to get back to being comfortable. And we've heard very little from Representative Yoho since her remarks. And as a matter of fact, as a result of the exchange that the two had, Representative Yoho served on a board and they called for his immediate resignation, citing that his recent actions and words were not reflective of their ethical standards expected of members of their board. Not every time will be perfect. There'll be times when our emotions do get the best of us and we do ultimately lose our cool. This may happen, but you must learn to manage those emotions to some extent because it typically spirals out of control. But here's an example of what you don't want to do. So let me show you my next clip.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube.
Hold on one moment. Having some technical difficulty, but we'll get to it.
Channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here.
It's coming. All right. Now, is that an extreme example? Yes, but it actually did happen. I selected this particular clip because I saw it at a judges seminar and was shocked, to say the least, but I've never forgotten that particular clip because it's etched to my memory. The moral of the story here is that you should never let your emotions outweigh your intelligence. At the core of each of the videos that I've shown you this afternoon is professionalism and civility. What went wrong in each? Allowing your emotional IQ to overtake reason and a lack of respect and decency. A lack of civility and professionalism can be punitive, especially in the courtroom. So I have another slide this time that I just would like to show you.
Judge Purdy, I don't think we saw that last video. Would you mind playing that one again for us?
Sure. Let me get to that. Hold on a second. Let me bring it up for you. That particular video was an example of what can go wrong in a courtroom. So I want to make sure that we do see that one.
We saw a reference to a fist fight with the judge, so apparently something went wrong.
Correct. Something went very wrong. So let me get this back up. Share the screen.
Waiting. All right. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I'm not waiting. You want to set it for trial? Set it for trial. All right. If you want to set it for docket setting, set it for docket setting. I'm not waiting in any case. This is an emergency.
If I had a rock, I would throw it at you right now. Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No, you know what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand.
I said sit down. If you want to fight, let's go out back, and I'll just beat your ass.
All right. Thank you. Yep, thank you.
All right. Were you able to see it that time, Tim?
Yes, we were. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting me know that it hadn't played. But yeah, I picked that because it was an extreme video. It was shown at one of our judges seminar about ethics and things that you should never do on the bench. But I did think that that was something that I did want to share with the group today, to just show you sometimes how emotions do get the best of some people. The next thing I was going to show was just simply a slide.
I lost it.
All right, here we go. So this particular slide, I think where we left off, I talked about how a lack of civility and professionalism can be especially punitive in the courtroom. So this particular article talks about a judge taking issue with a lawyer's choice of words as nonsensical, as it related to a request of the court to reconsider a ruling to strike class action allegations in a consumer lawsuit. You can see from some of the text of the article that this appeared in. The author termed this as a bench slap. And I just want to take a moment. This was here in our Northern District of Texas, but I want to take a moment to read from the judge's court's memorandum opinion and order what he exactly took issue with from these particular lawyers and their choice of words. Before the court addresses the parties' arguments, it addresses the statement of counsel for defendants that the court's prior interpretation was nonsensical, among other things. The court takes no umbrage with an attorney disagreeing with its rulings, at least as one party will usually be adversely affected by what the court does. Disagreement is not uncommon in a highly competitive legal environment. If an attorney believes that the court has made an incorrect ruling concerning a client, the attorney may take advantage of the appellate process. That defendant's counsel would display such effrontery to the court is astounding. In any event, if similar conduct recurs, the court will address such conduct with appropriate sanctions, as it will not tolerate impertinent conduct. The court places the fault squarely at the feet of defendant's counsel, as they are responsible for filing documents, as well as the content therein with the court. The court will now address the substantive arguments made by the parties. So let me just get out of that. So I think we can discern that in those two particular articles that I shared with you today, that Judge Sam Lindsay, and any other judge for that matter, does not take kindly characterizing his ruling as nonsensical. Let me suggest that characterizing a judge's ruling as nonsensical and then asking for a reconsideration of that ruling is probably not going to advance the interests of your clients very far. Many judges don't take issue with the request for reconsideration, but I think the way in which defendant's counsel requested that particular reconsideration lacks some civility. Despite the scolding by the judge in his memorandum opinion, Judge Lindsay did agree to strike the class allegations in that particular lawsuit. So moral of the story there is bench slaps and sanctions are never very good words that you want to hear. The point to all of that is professionalism is essential. Every now and then we'll lose our cool. We will choose the wrong word or words. We're all human after all. I'm not saying at times that you won't miss a step, but we want to learn when we do misstep. When we do miss a step, then we want to make sure that we are correcting for the future. Think of the last time that you might have said or did something that lacked professionalism or that was less than civil. Did you do anything to self-correct that? And if you're not learning from your misses, then you're not going to benefit from your wins. So what exactly is professionalism? It means being a competent, effective, respectful advocate for your client and the justice system. It calls us to be mindful of the lawyer's role as an officer of the legal system, advocate, counselor, negotiator, and problem solver. It involves respect, civility, proficiency, and a recognition that the life of a lawyer is one of a continuous learner. Civility is at the core element of professionalism. It's not the same as agreeing with someone. It is not the absence of criticism, and it is not the same as liking someone, and should not be equated with politeness or manners alone. Civility is a code of decency that characterizes a civilized society. Civility is also at the heart of the Texas Lawyers' Creed, suggesting that the conduct of a lawyer should be characterized at all times by honesty, candor, and fairness. It reminds lawyers that we owe not only a duty to our clients, but we owe it to our legal system as well. What I want you to know this afternoon is that you were made for a time such as this. It is by no coincidence that a pandemic hits smack in the middle of your time as a law student, during your most coveted summer associate position, as a recent law school graduate, a new lawyer, or those simply trying to figure out if and when they will be able to sit for the Texas bar examination or any other state's bar exam for that matter. It is by no coincidence that you are training for a profession that has an obligation, responsibility, and a duty to right systematic racism that has plagued our nation for hundreds of years. It is by no means a coincidence that social justice issues continue to unfold before our eyes on national television and that lawyers are on the forefront of these issues. And it is by no means a coincidence that our country is becoming more and more of a nation divided by the haves versus the have-nots. And by no means is it a coincidence that you are being challenged as a member of this profession to figure out what your role will be in creating solutions for all of these very urgent and pressing issues. You may be thinking to yourself, I didn't sign up for this. Or you may be thinking, the sky is falling, and where on earth do I even begin? Well, I'm here to tell you, as members of this legal profession, this is indeed what you did sign up for. Lawyers are change agents. Lawyers are leaders in their communities. They are trained to solve problems. They are trained to get results. And our profession is in critical need of your innovation, input, and assistance. Collectively, we all must ensure that the wheels of justice continue to turn, and that we aid those seeking justice, because we know that the rule of law provides for an orderly and just society. It benefits us all to live in a society where no one is above the law, everyone is treated equally under the law, and everyone is held accountable to the same laws, and that there is a clear and fair process for enforcing those laws. We must ensure that there's an independent judiciary and human rights will be guaranteed for all. We, the people, individuals, institutions, and governments, all play a role in maintaining that rule of law. But key to the rule of law is a commitment to applying the law fairly to everyone, a balance of individual rights against the safety of others. The rule of law must prevail so that everyday citizens know and appreciate that despite the uncertainty that we currently face, considering the COVID-19 pandemic, citizens know and understand that order remains in our society. Understandably so, there can be a tension for law students and young attorneys who are facing uncertain futures, considering market dips or other pressures. And law students or young attorneys may feel tempted to accelerate disputes and to move issues forward and ensure their livelihoods. But you must remain mindful of the unusual circumstances that are changing business as usual in our respective professions. I know that everyone here today reads the headlines or is on news overload, so I don't have to tell you how the COVID-19 pandemic has wreaked havoc on the economy, revealed disparities in our healthcare systems, and placed a screeching halt to our Seventh Amendment right to trial by jury in our justice system. What I can tell you is that you are by far more resilient than you believe you are. This too shall pass. We will get through this and we will be better for it. Our profession is learning to adapt, getting things done despite mandates to wear masks, limitations on gatherings, and holding in-person hearings. Zoom and Microsoft Teams have literally changed the way we conduct business of the court. You must be willing and ready to pivot in order to stay the course. It is a stressful time, to say the least. So how do you maintain professionalism during these times? As a member of the legal profession, I submit to you that you are not exempt from professionalism and civility because we find ourselves in the midst of a pandemic. You are not exempt because there are stay-at-home orders and global shutdowns. The expectation as members of the bar is that you step up and you exhibit both civility and professionalism while representing the interest of your clients. You see, you're truth seekers, you're justice seekers, and that never changes, even in the midst of a pandemic. One challenge of practicing law is that during a heated dispute, attorneys sometimes lose sight of the importance of treating others in a professional and civil manner. Now, with all the suffering and disruption caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, the hope is that attorneys will recognize the heightened importance of treating adversaries with respect and compassion. Indeed, attorneys have the obligation to zealously act on behalf of the interests of their clients. Courts have recognized the need to act with integrity and basic decency, especially important to the current environment that we find ourselves in. This is a time for our profession to demonstrate an even higher level of civility in the legal profession without compromising obligations to clients. Practicing law from home has created challenges for law students and young attorneys who are accustomed to the formality of the office or the courtroom. And court appearances or client meetings are often occurring by telephone or video at home in less formal settings. However, this is not code for it's okay to be less formal. Take steps to ensure that you are still exuding an air of professionalism, that your clothing is appropriate and your background or your virtual background is not distracting and that is also appropriate. Several news stories are out there about judges who have chastised attorneys for appearing before them by video conference without the proper business attire, or some making their appearances from bed even. So this is what's going on during this particular time. Professionalism and civility are even more important now during these challenging times than ever before because law students and lawyers are under severe stress, pressure to perform, and a direct result of that stress is generally a lack of civility towards one another. This virus has caused deaths, a loss of jobs, and uncertainty about our future. However, our profession needs to remain resolute, that professionalism and civility are attributes that are the cornerstone of our legal profession and advances us all when honored and respected. So I have just a few more slides that I want to share with you. Hopefully I won't have any more technical difficulties. This is, I talked a little bit about lawyers being involved in social justice issues, and I'm sure everybody's familiar with the George Floyd killing and how many lawyers participated in a lot of the social protests and intervened in court filings and things as a result of this particular national movement that we saw on television. These are just some slides on Black Lives Matters and protest on social justice issues, which lawyers have always been involved in and continue to be involved in. This particular slide talks a little bit about the disparities in healthcare that I mentioned. We have found out that we had to have a lot of sort of walk-up testing sites in vulnerable communities, and there's just a slide that represents that. Lawyers have been on the front line of a lot of these issues during the pandemic. We've had a lot of lawyers volunteer their time for a lot of residents facing eviction as a result of the pandemic. And this is just a headline that captures that. Articles about getting out of bed and putting a shirt on for Zoom court hearings, they're out there as well. You can find those. So what I want to talk about now is just a list that I've located that I thought may be helpful to review from time to time to make sure that you stay on track with professionalism and civility as you move along in your legal career. This list is going to be available in a link in our chat room, so they're going to put that up for you now. But I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted a few for you while I am here speaking. I want you to listen And by that, I mean to really listen. I can tell you as a judge that I never knew what the term meant that I heard so often. Some people just like to hear themselves talk. Remember that lawyers talk for a living. Thus, your most important job as a new lawyer, summer associate, or intern is to listen to what senior attorneys are telling you. This is a crucial skill that you must master as you move forward in your career. It takes work to really listen. The next particular one that I wanted to highlight for you is to project confidence and not arrogance. Employers want to hire people who can offer their own opinions, who can demonstrate enthusiasm, and who take pride and ownership in their work. There's a fine line between being confident and being arrogant. Walk it very carefully. You gain confidence when you've mastered a project and or a skill. The next one that I think we've already mentioned, I think the DBA president mentioned this, or maybe Andy mentioned this earlier, but this is engage in your legal community. The legal community is very welcoming to new lawyers. Take advantage of the many bar associations, alumni groups, and community organizations outside of your school, and immerse yourself in the greater legal community. Lastly, I want to tell you to find a mentor, someone who can offer you career advice, sponsor your success, and stay a friend throughout your career. It may take you some time to find that match, but the payoff is worth it. Where you find yourself now in your journey through law school or as a newly licensed attorney is about being or becoming a lifelong learner, listening and improving. You want to show your employer that you are a great hire and hone your legal skills. Listen and learn while you are there and take your time. You've proven yourself because you now have a seat at the table. So pace yourself because your only goal should be to make yourself better. Let me leave you with a challenge and a quote. When you have a misstep, and we all do, and we all will, what are you willing to do to turn that misstep into a target? And then let me leave you with this final quote. The pandemic is serving as a wake-up call and a catalyst for many, reminding us of what we should have been doing all along, but have not been. Eyes are wide open and the window to recommit and choose something other than idleness, coasting, anxiety, or not living in alignment with passionate values is not open forever. Now is the opportunity to reinvent and to redefine yourself. I'd like to thank you for having me here today, and I hope you have found something helpful that you can take away and use on professionalism and civility. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Purdy. Fantastic insights and advice, and of course, a lot of things that we can take away from those comments. Thank you very much. For our final segment of the program, we'll shift gears to a bit more practical advice about professionalism, how to establish a professional online presence. Peter Vogel is of counsel in the litigation section and a member of the Privacy, Security, and Information Management team at Foley & Lardner, LLP, where he is chair of the e-Discovery Committee. For 12 years, Peter served as the founding chair of the Texas Supreme Court Judicial Committee on Information Technology, which is responsible for helping automate the Texas court system and creating the Texas e-filing system. Peter, I'll turn it over to you.
Tim, thank you very much, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to make a presentation today and thank the Professionalism Committee for including me. And it's such a great honor to be included with the same group with Judge Purdy and you and Andy and CJ, of course, and my across the street neighbor, Jill Lewis. So we're all kind of connected here. So let me start with this presentation. I hope it will be everybody can see that. I'll move to the next one. Add a little bit more detail. In addition to everything else, before I studied law, I had a career as a computer programmer. So the law career is a second industry for me, and that's a little bit different. But my law practice, I only represent buyers and sellers of information technology and internet services. I've also been an adjunct law professor at SMU Law School. So I like to think I understand the audience today and the students. For 15 years, I taught a course on law of e-commerce, and I also taught courses on e-discovery at SMU. When I have nothing else to do, I know this is very hard to see, but in any given year, I give between 30 and 40 speeches. This is just kind of a list of what I've done in the past year. And I'm saying this because I think from being involved in the profession, it's important for us to share our thoughts and our views about the legal issues that we as lawyers have to deal with. So let me point this out. I know everyone on the call is familiar with this expression, death by PowerPoint. As a matter of fact, I watched a death by PowerPoint yesterday. It was 11 slides, and it took almost an hour to get through it. And the speaker read every single word on every page. So it's sort of like, okay, I think we could have done it. So I have a different approach. I'm going to go through 86 PowerPoint slides in less than 20 minutes this afternoon. So my recommendation is put on your seatbelt. So let me just go back to lay out a line of background. I might add, this is the kind of technique I use when I'm presenting things to juries about how to build a timeline. But in any event, I graduated from the University of Texas with a bachelor's degree in marketing and accounting in 1969. Got a job as a programmer. Ultimately, in 1972, I got a master's in computer science in Washington, D.C. at American University. I worked on a PhD for a year and hated it so much I decided to go to law school. I went to St. Mary's. I got out in 1976, but I never intended to be a lawyer. My plan was I was going to be a computer consultant. So I taught graduate and undergraduate computer courses all through law school. As a matter of fact, my last semester in law school, I was taking 16 hours and I had 90 students in 3 classes. So it was a different way. I moved back to Dallas, which is my hometown, and I did computer consulting from 1976 until 1978. And in 1978, I just hung up a shingle and I was a sole practitioner. Like I say, I only represent buyers and sellers of information technology and these days, internet and e-commerce. So I did that until 1992. Then I joined a firm called Gardier and Wynn. In 1994, I was president of the Dallas Bar Association, for which I'm very proud. I'll have another comment about that here in a minute. And then Gardier merged with Foley and Lardner, international law firm, in 2018. And then earlier this year, we merged that completely, and now we're all Foley and Lardner. But the firm has 1,100 lawyers in 24 cities. So it's very different than being a solo practitioner. And I'm really saying that from the standpoint of, for you law students, you don't understand where you're going to be as a lawyer. Not everybody's going to be at an 1,100 person law firm. As a matter of fact, we look at the ABA materials. They do surveys. They've been doing this for years. 63% of all lawyers are in groups of 2 to 9 lawyers. We are really a cottage industry. And so it's really important for you as law students to understand everybody's not going to be in a large law firm. And I'd like the point that CJ made earlier about the daily work. And you have a very different perspective of it when you're a sole practitioner, as I was, or if you're in a group of 2 or 3 or 4 lawyers. It's radically different, but it's very important. And that's, as you can see, that's the majority of those of us who practice law. The American Bar Association is a great resource. They have this law practice group, and they provide a lot of materials. And as a sole practitioner, I can tell you I relied on their materials. Let me talk about the Dallas Bar Association for a minute. We bought the Below Mansion in 1977 or thereabouts and moved in 79. And in Dallas, this is one of the most beautiful buildings downtown, a great place. And I encourage y'all to join. And as law students, believe it or not, we have a $10 fee. And back to what I said earlier, when I was president in 1994, I created this $10 fee because I think it's important for law students to be able to join and be a part of our association, get the monthly newsletters. And here's an application which we can obviously send you as well. It costs $10 at that point, but we have all these sections as well. We have 30 different substantive law sections, and they meet monthly. So you have an opportunity to learn online now. You don't even have to come to BELO to do that. And you can see with all the sections and everything we have, whether it's ADR, appellate, bankruptcy, all different kinds of things. And I know a lot of people don't understand that you could get involved in more than one section and learn and meet people in that profession, in that professional area that will help you in your law practice. And my advice is, whenever you're in town, if you're not in Dallas, come to BELO, come to those meetings once the COVID changes, and go to those meetings. Even as a law student, you are welcome because you are a member. Dallas Bar Association has a presence on LinkedIn. I'm going to take more time to talk about that before. Dallas Bar Association also has a Facebook page, which I am not actively involved in, I might add. I'm just not as a Facebook person, except I do manage my Hillcrest High School class page there. But the also other services that we get from the Dallas Bar is every day we get an update of legal issues from a service called Lexology. So all the members automatically get this every day. This actually was today's email that we got with legal issues that students, young lawyers, or anybody would be interested in knowing more about. There's also a group, part of our BELO, DBA, the Dallas Association of Young Lawyers. And they also have a LinkedIn page. So, and that's for people that are under, I think, 36. I'm not sure about the age, but I think that's right. Also, the State Bar of Texas is a great resource for young lawyers. And one of the things that I'm going to be addressing here and talking about LinkedIn and other things online is there are rules about advertising, and the State Bar expects you to comply. And these disciplinary rules associated with it require that any kind of advertisements that we do, whether it's a web page or not, we have a duty to share that with the bar and get it approved. So if you are putting content there, just as I think Judge Purdy pointed out, telling the truth and how honest that is, you have to be honest online too, because the State Bar is watching you to make sure that you're complying with these rules. And you can see that there are prohibited written electronic digital solicitations. So going after someone after a major accident, if you want to start knocking on their door and you don't know them, those kinds of things for plaintiffs' lawyers make a difference, I know. And I think that part of this is these rules apply to everybody, whether they're a brand new lawyer, just get your license, or those of us who practiced for many years. Also, the Texas Young Lawyers Association is another resource for information and things that they offer online. Part of the Texas Bar CLE program is these 10-minute mentor programs, which I have made a number of them over the years, and it's on a topic. And in 10 minutes, you can learn about a topic, and you can see how many they have listed here. And you're welcome. Everybody is welcome to go look at that site. Also, another resource, and particularly for those of us who are in small law firms, that the State Bar has is the Law Practice Management Program. And we have available a lot of important resources if you need help in running your practice. Also, the Texas Young Lawyers Association has a presence online itself. And now let me give an example. This is my favorite social media story. In 2009, I went to give a speech to the construction law section of the San Antonio Bar where my son was practicing law. And I know it's going to seem not so crazy that I had a couple of hundred PowerPoint slides in May of 2009. But here's an example of what happened. These slides I actually used. All right. You can see the topics I had. I love my 5 Big Bang Theory, but we're not going to talk about that today. But privacy issues and the kinds of things that are going on with LinkedIn. So I would go to LinkedIn, and you could see there at the time, it was different than it looks today. But you could see my personal page at the time had a lot of details. I was connected, you could see kind of in the middle there, to 392 people at the time. And back then, they don't have these network statistics available anymore. That meant those were 392. My first degree, the second degree was 42,000 plus. And connected in the third degree was over 2.9 million people. So you think about this, the value of LinkedIn is people that you know that you went to high school with or college or law school. You need to connect with them. You need to be able to share your experiences and know that they might need to hire somebody in another city. And you might be just the person, but they don't even know you're practicing law in the town you happen to be in. So here's the example I gave to the San Antonio Bar Association. I said, how many people have the title president in their name? Or I'm sorry, the president is their title, whether it's president or vice president, and they're in the construction industry, because I was speaking to the construction law group. 52,183 results. That, I don't know if that's good or bad. It's a bigger number today, but this is 2009. So then what I did was I said, let's make it within 100 miles. You can see that the zip code is 78701. Made it within 100 miles. Actually, that's Austin. So that was a bigger circle, but than just San Antonio. And what I came up with was I saw that Tim Watt was at Zachary Corporation. And for those of you who may know, Zachary Corporation is one of the largest construction companies in the world, and they're headquartered in San Antonio. So I thought, okay, let's look at Zachary, construction president, within 100 miles of Austin. And there we have Brian Hamilton. Now, I didn't know Brian from hole in the wall, but I thought, okay, well, let's look at Brian Hamilton. Here he is. He's a lawyer down there. He had 238 connections. So someone stopped me and said, he's sitting on the front row. How can you do that? And I said, that's the whole point of LinkedIn. We are all connected. Just a complete coincidence that happened. But I will tell you, 3 weeks later, I did a half-day workshop for the Arizona County Treasurers Association, and I found that Arizona County treasurer sitting on the front row did exactly the same thing. And the reason I'm pointing that out is we are connected. You are connected with all kinds of people that would help you in your career. And as more than one of the speakers earlier today has pointed out, get a mentor. That's really important. Help develop those relationships. Here's Brian's current page. He left Zachary, now at American Roof and Metal. Now, Robert spoke earlier, president of the bar this year, and you can see both of them have the blue backgrounds. Those are the standard issued from LinkedIn. I'm not a big fan of that because I think it says you're not looking at doing anything. Alicia Hernandez is our executive director. She has the same blue background. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if you go to that page, that's the impression you get. Now, Tim Newman's got a good A&M picture here behind him. I think that's a good thing. And he's got more than 500 connections, 106 we're connected with. Andy has the blue. Okay, Andy, you need to fix that. But on the other hand, he and I have another 67 mutual connections as well. Jill and I, she's using blue too. I'm sure she'll let me know that she's going to change it tomorrow. Any event, we look at what's out there, and it's very important that we have connections and take advantage of this. And even Judge Purdy, sorry about that, Judge, you have the blue as well. No, it'd be nice to have the courthouse or something else. My point is, if you do something with it, what you're doing is you're telling the people that come to your page, I'm thinking about it. That's really the only difference, and what you have to say about yourself. And I think that's very important. And as everyone will note, I'm not connected to Judge Purdy. I guess we're only second degree. I'll have to fix that after the presentation today. And CJ, actually, we did join since this. I picked this up the other day, so I've added that. And look, he's got 3 pictures behind him about his law school and his career. And I think that's very important to show what he's up to. Now, as I pointed out, I'll talk about what's on my page. I'm using clouds these days. My son's an artist and he takes beautiful pictures. I think that's nice and it's different and it gives somebody's attention. So if we look at this, we have all this activity. I've got 4,247 followers. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but that's how I operate there, and you'll see more. So I have descriptions about what I'm doing with Foley and Lardner and my experience, the fact that I've been a mediator. I'm on the board of the Academy of Court-Appointed Masters, co-founder of the American College of B-Neutrals. I'm on the board of the Silicon Valley Arbitration and Mediation Center, been a special master, been an arbitrator of the American Arbitration Association. So these are things that I've explained that I've done in my career. And I think it's important because if you're trying to get a job, with your resume, or you go to a website, nobody's going to hire you without looking at LinkedIn to see what you've been doing. That's the way it works today. And so I think it's important. And as Tim pointed out, I was founding chair of JCIT, among other things. So also what you can say about your schools and where you went. It's important to include those. I have no idea why it's out of order here because I went to American before I went to St. Mary's, but somehow or other, LinkedIn changed that. Also, there are skills that people endorse. And I will tell you that the state bar says it's okay for these endorsements. It's not violating any of the rules. And you can see all the different industry technical knowledge experiences that I have. We have recommendations. Other people can make recommendations about you. Things you can do also, as well as you can post things on LinkedIn. So here's a program on August 14th that Tony Gwynn and I are doing for the state bar. And so I'm promoting our state bar program online. Also, I don't know why I have enough free time, but I also write a column. These days, Chelsea Hilliard and I write this column on e-commerce times on law issues. So I posted that. That came out on July 13th on part 4 of that series. Also, here was a program that I did for the state bar in June, and that got posted as well. Also, something else to consider about what you're doing and to encourage other people to know about you and trust you is I've been blogging now since 2008. And I think there's a certain amount of credibility that goes along with people that include it. You can see some of the recent blogs, including this last one about the Federal Trade Commission that I posted a couple of days ago. Here's the blog that I've got. And then I posted that online on LinkedIn. So in closing, let me say this, and I think I'm already mirroring a lot of things that other people have said, and that is get involved with the profession. That is the critical thing. Be part of the bar. I think attending the meetings and enlarging your network is a really critical thing to do, and it will help you in your long-term professional career. But the other part is not just the bar, and I think Judge Purdy made an important point. We have a duty to society to help our communities. And I think that commitment to help, like Legal Services of North Texas, which is something I've been committed to my entire career, because I even worked at the legal aid in San Antonio when I was in law school. So I certainly identify with the importance of that. And then finally, this kind of runs an interesting thread through other people's comments. And that is, I think one of the things that gets you credible, and Judge, I think this had to do with the examples you use, tell the truth. You're better off doing that than making up a story, because that never works out. So let me add one other comment. Made me think of this when other people were speaking. 3 things that I learned after I was in law school that I guess I wish I had known before I went to law school. And the first of that is we are educators. We have to educate judges, juries, our clients, adversaries. And if we can't articulate and educate them, it's going to be tough to be a successful lawyer. And the second one is that we're writers. We have to be really good at writing. Law school rewards you for writing too many words. But as a professional lawyer, if you can write something in 1 sentence, you're going to do a whole lot better in court. And I know I saw Judge Purdy smiling on that. Is if you have to read 5 pages of brief, or you can read 3 sentences, the 3 sentences are going to win every time. And then the third part, which is something I never contemplated at all, is I know this may seem a little nutty, and I'm not sure how it really fits onto my topic altogether. And that is, we are actors. We have to be in the courtroom, exactly the example the judge gave before about starting a fist fight with the judge or something like that, is everybody that goes to the courtroom, and I've been on a jury before in my life, everybody that goes to a courtroom watches TV and movies about trials. And if you do something that doesn't fit into their experience of watching movies and TV shows about trials, the jury doesn't trust you. I know that may seem silly, but if you don't have the right costume on, wear a tie and a suit, you have a credibility issue. So thanks again for the opportunity to make a presentation today. And I just am honored to be part of this program. And thanks for the Professionalism Committee putting on a wonderful program today.
Well, thank you, Peter. Great insights. And I'm glad I recently added that background photo to my LinkedIn profile. I wasn't expecting that pop quiz that I've had.
You go back to mine, you'll see it's already changed. Thanks, Deborah.
Good.
As we close out our program, I hope you found the insights shared today valuable. And just to recap a few of those, Robert Tobey reminded us we only get one chance to make a good first impression, and mentors are a must. We're all ambassadors for our profession, and while we may be adversarial in the courtroom or the boardroom, we should all strive to be civil and respectful. We need to think about our brand as attorneys, take ownership of our work, master communication, and be grateful. Judge Purdy reminded us that professionalism is essential. This is what we all signed up for. Be resilient. Professionalism and civility are more important now than ever, and now is the opportunity to reinvent and redefine ourselves. Get involved in the bar and your community. And of course, we got some great advice on establishing a professional online presence. And Peter reminded us that we're all educators, writers, and actors as lawyers. If I can, I'd like to share one parting challenge. For young lawyers, professionalism can mean a lot of different things. Dress well, be on time, proofread your work, treat your colleagues and adversaries with respect. But borrowing a concept from my law school alma mater, William & Mary, I'd like to challenge you all to be citizen lawyers. As aspiring lawyers, challenge yourself to not only be excellent craftsmen, but also good citizens and leaders of your community, state, and nation. I think that message has been intertwined in everything we've heard today. Be a citizen lawyer in whatever form that takes for you, and I promise you won't be disappointed in that result. Thank you again to our panelists. Thank you for your time and your insights and being with us today. Thank you to the DBA Professionalism Committee and the DBA staff for hosting this program. I hope you all enjoyed it, and we look forward to welcoming all of you to the profession very soon.